Good evening. Patrick here, Eight Questions With. Welcome to the show. Um, wow, I'm sort of looking outside and I'm noticing that it seems to be getting darker a little sooner. Um, been a hot, steamy, hazy day here in southeastern Michigan, and I was just reading about what's happening over at Maui. Wow, absolutely insane. And not very many places to go. I've never heard of anything like that happening over in Hawaii. They have crazy ass wildfires that are burning out of control. Once again, climate change at play. Um, the winds are being kicked up by a hurricane over 800 miles away, and it's causing the crazy ass winds. And the wildfire was started in dry conditions. You don't really think about that in Hawaii, dry conditions, but it is devastating the island. So far, 6 people have lost their lives, and the property damage is off the chart. Um, as far as I know, it's still going too. So bad news for Hawaii, and our thoughts and are over with the people in Hawaii. All right. Okay, Anthony is here with us. Thank you, Anthony, for coming in. We will be talking with actress Jessica Cameron today. Jessica is a fine actress. She was originally born in Canada. Now she resides in Los Angeles, and she is what we call a dual threat. She is a film director and a writer, and also, I believe, she is a fine actress. Um, I've actually known Jessica for a very long time. I got to know her through her streams. She had a live stream. She was the very first live stream I ever saw on YouTube. I had never seen a live stream before until I saw hers, Scream Scream Queen stream that she hosted with her friend Heather, and then later on, our favorite Ginger, Danny Inks. Um, and they used to sit out there in the pool or jacuzzi, and they just talk horror movies. Sometimes they would have a guest, and they go inside their house and they talk to their guests. And Yeah, it was the first live stream show I ever saw, and it was very cool, very cool. It was like, wow, this is fun. Of course, it helped. It helped having two really pretty girls there. They would talk about all sorts of things. Um, their own lives, their different folks they knew in the industry and whatnot. They weren't gossipers by any stretch. I mean, it was actually very informative. It was like I said, it was the first time I saw a live stream in it, and I was hooked. I thought Jessica did a really nice job. Heather, who acted, she ended up getting a 9 to 5 job. So, and then it was her and Danny Inks together. Um, I also found one of Jessica's movies, and I reviewed it for my blog called Run Like Hell, which was very good. That was a pretty action-packed movie, to tell you the truth. And and then later on, I seen her do a little short piece in a movie called 13 13 13, which has one of the most creepiest DVD covers you'll ever want to see. It was really remarkable is that movie was made by the Asylum, but it was interesting film, but really great cover. Um, so we'll be talking to Jessica about her latest movies. I know that one of the movies that she had appeared in I think it just got its release called it's an anthology film called Satanic Hispanics, and she had a small role in that, and then she has a lot of other stuff that's upcoming, um, including because like glad Dracula Beyond. She's going to actually do. She's got one movie got completed called The Overlooked. She's also got I seen the cover for this one for Lilith. I seen the cover for that one. Lilith looks really cool. That's a wicked cover. So we're going to be talking to her about all sorts of things, conventions, crazy fans, horror films, her love of physical media, um, uh, uh, and of course, fighting for your rights to keep on to what you create. Uh, Greetings, Professor. How are you? How are you? Glad you are here. Okay, Jessica will be here shortly. She forgot that she had done. She was wondering if she had done StreamYard before, and I had let her know that she had done StreamYard when she did the House of Horrors a couple of months ago with Stephen and Echo. Um, and so yeah, so she'll be here shortly. Let me go ahead and break out the calendar. The calendar is broken out. Uh, all right. So the calendar is out, and tonight Jessica will be here. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. It's really hot and muggy here today. I mean, really muggy. It's It's actually weird. It's like earlier this week. Um, Earlier this week it was a little chilly, and I actually had to go grab a blanket. Normally, that does not happen until late September. So, but it's summer has returned in spades. It has not been an overpowering summer here. It's been very pleasant. Temperatures mostly in the 80s. We've had a couple of 90s, but never got anything like 100 or anything like that. And we've had plenty of rain. Had plenty of rain this year. So it's been a really mild summer. Tomorrow night we have Kelly Poling will be with us, actress and elite athlete Kelly Poling will be here at 8 o'clock. Next week is going to be a really, really fun week. We have Dane Elcar will be here with us. He is the writer and director of what I think is the movie of the year, and Brightwood. Man, that is a awesome movie. Awesome. Uh, that will have you. You'll definitely want to see it with somebody, especially somebody you love. Um, he will be here. We'll be talking Brightwood. Next week, actually, the theme is going to be Brightwood because not only are we going to be talking to the director and writer of Brightwood, Dane Elcar, but we're going to be talking to the lead actor in the movie too, and that would be Max Wartendijk. He will be here on the 18th. We had to move him a little bit until he felt comfortable doing the show because of people going on strike. And one of the things that they want to be careful about because the union doesn't really want people to promote, but it's mostly bigger people with bigger projects. They said that if people they could do podcasts if they wanted to, small podcasts, they could do that. So Max felt comfortable enough to come back and reschedule, and he will be talking with us on the 18th. On the 16th, Wednesday the 16th, we will be interviewing the young Latina singer songwriter Iris will be here with us at 8 p.m. She's got a really, really cool look. Looks like she does pop songs. Um, Seems like a very, very nice young lady and very talented as well. And she will be here on the 16th. We'll be talking music again. So I'm really happy about that. And then on the 17th, we have actress Kylie Nicole will be with us. A week from tomorrow, Kylie Nicole will be with us at 8 p.m. And then Max will join us on Friday, the 18th at 8 p.m. as well. Let's see. Jessica was the one who brought the Black Dahlia haunting to my attention. Yeah, Jessica, she has done a lot of films. She has popped up in a lot of films. Uh, she is very hard. There's one thing you can say about Jessica Cameron is she busts her ass. Um, She works very hard, and not only is she a very accomplished horror actress, but she also runs her own beauty channel on YouTube as well. And um, that's going to be something we're going to talk about a little bit too, because a lot of things she did on her channel, on her beauty channel, was she basically used herself as a guinea pig. Now that was fascinating, even for a regular, even a guy off the street. But she was just sitting there and trying all these beauty products on herself, and fearlessly. I I don't know sure if I could do that. I don't know if I could do that. Just, but she did it, and she was very popular. She's very popular. I believe her channel's still going on. Beauty Guru is still going on, or almost Beauty Guru, I believe it's called, and she's still doing that. It's very successful. So she runs her regular horror channel, and she also runs her beauty channel. Um, yeah, she did that. Yeah, she did the first live stream I ever saw on YouTube. Um, I saw her on Screen Stream stream. Say that 5 times fast. Let's see. Potpourri. Yep. Sarah French. Yeah, Sarah French, whose star is definitely on the rise as well. Hopefully, the strike will get over with soon, so folks can go back to making projects. But if you missed out last night's show, if you see the people striking and you're wondering what they're really striking about, what's the heart of their strike, you really need to watch last night's show. Um, that was an eye opener. Yeah, that was that was one for the that's yeah, that was, I did not know. I really did not understand it until our guest Daniel Hill explained it. Um, I really didn't know. I didn't really understand just how serious the AI thing was. I mean, I knew it was there. I too was thinking more. It was more like the residue. I was thinking that was half the battle there. But yes, wannabe beauty guru. Yep. Yeah, it's a really fun channel, and I watched that channel too. Of course, Jessica also has her famous co-star, her little dog Solomon. Solomon is definitely a ham, definitely a ham. Uh, so let's see. On to 22nd, we have makeup artist expert Anna Monge will be here with us. On the 23rd, we have artist Joshua Adams, who makes insane art. His art is off the chart. You have to see it to believe it. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you're into horror, I do believe he does commissions. Wait till you see some of the stuff that he creates. It's amazing, amazing art on the 23rd. On the 24th, we have actor and director Michael Minyard will be here with us to talk about his new film, You Should Have Killed Me, which is a lovely homage to English gangster films. A lot of fun. If you like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, you'll definitely like this. You definitely want to see this one. On the 25th, we rescheduled another artist from last month to this month, and that is our friend Amy Kay, and she will be with us on the 25th. So she will be here on August 25th, and hopefully she'll be able to do some art for us while we chat. And the last week of August sees 3 shows. One, we're going to have the director, Paris Dillon, and some of the cast of Dying to Sleep. That will be on the 29th. On the 30th, we have one of the most anticipated guests I've had in recent memory, and that will be Ross Verge. He is a retired Special Secret Service agent, and he also runs a podcast called Up the Middle. And he will be with us on the 30th. And then on the 31st, we'll close out August with a bang, as we welcome in the most lovely Morgan Thompson will be here with us. Morgan Thompson will be with us on the 31st. That will be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to meeting her. She also is a very much in demand screen queen. Um, very much so. When I contacted her, she initially thought I was contacting her for a part, like a script. And I've been following her this summer. Her and a former guest, Angel Bradford, are both seems like appearing together all over the place in different horror movies. They're posting pictures of what they've been doing. And Morgan is so busy. She thought I was coming from a movie. I said no, I'm just an interviewer, and I know she's been insanely busy, and I was hopefully I was asking her if she would have time, and she thought I was asking if I could send a script. She says she couldn't do it because she was just too busy, but she said that she's not too busy to do an interview. Uh, so she will be here on the 31st. Yes, Morgan Thompson is, yes, it's one of the girls that you mentioned to me, Stephen. And I contacted her and we communicated, and I couldn't do anything back when we talked. So we just stayed in touch. And then when the time was right, she pops up. So she is cute as hell. I gotta say that, in case she's watching. She is cute as hell. All right. So Jessica will be here shortly. Let me. I know she can't. She sent me a note on. She sent me a note on Instagram saying that she was getting ready. And that happens. Remember, she's on the West Coast, so um, people on the West Coast who always have to give them a little bit extra, because a lot of times, even when they do get home, it's still they have to fight traffic. Like Daniel was commenting yesterday about, we're talking about the strike and walking with his peers, and it's like you could drive 90 minutes to get to strike to where you need to go to strike, but gas when you're not working and gas is $6 an hour, traffic is that thick, it can be a little bit of a struggle, and you got to be a little bit smart. And I always give people from the West Coast a little extra time, because they are on the West Coast. Um, hey, greetings, Night Owl. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Uh, Echoes yelling, West Side, West Side. That's right. Let's see. I used to be able to do that. West Side. Um, if you ever watched the Jamie Foxx show, uh, um, all right. So I do believe uh, this week it will see me do my review on a very decisive movie. Wow, man, I heard about this movie, and I knew what it was about. I knew I had seen it before, and I seen how people commented on it. Um, some people absolutely loved it. Some people absolutely hate it. There's nobody have I've heard that said that um, that said it was okay. They either loved it or they didn't. What I found really interesting is a lot of people watching it the first time and hating it, hating it, hating it, hating it. And then they gave it another shot, and all of a sudden it's like a light flicked on, and they loved it. And the movie that we'll be talking about is actually I can get it. All right, what's going on, Stephen? So the movie I'm talking about that has been so decisive, and I don't know if Jessica's seen this, but we'll definitely ask her. The movie came out, and like I said, it's right down the middle. I mean, you either liked it or you did not. You weren't sitting there going like, "It's okay." Nobody I know has said that. Now, of course, somebody wants to be a smart ass and say that. I'm expecting that. But the movie I'm talking about, and I'll be watching it for the first time, is the ISC Midnight film of Skinner Moranik. I got to tell you, just based on the trailer, this trailer is one of the most interesting and most creepiest trailers I've seen in a long, long time. Very, very effective. Just want to hit the play button already. Love the trailer. Love the trailer. The voiceover in this house. Man, that's iconic. That is iconic. Someone walks up to you and says, "In this house." I was creeped out. I was creeped out. And I'm going like in a good way. I'm like, hell to the yes. This sounds right up our alley. And so when I posted, what do people think about this movie? Because I wanted to know, what they thought about it, and that's what happened. Half the people, well, more than half the people that did say they saw it, they loved it. Those who didn't said they hated it. And a lot of people said that they did watch it, didn't like it, watched it again, and understood it and liked it. Nobody said they liked it at first and then came on and said no, they didn't. It's going to be a very interesting film. Okay, our guest has just walked through the basement, and please join me in welcoming in the very lovely and talented Jessica Cameron.
Hi. Welcome. Yay. Thank you for having me. Hi, guys.
I'm so excited for this.
Well, it's my honor. Thank you very much for having me here.
Whoops. Okay, I hear me in the background. Can you keep down your sound?
Sure.
Please. Oh.
Is that better?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I see. Oops. Nope, I still hear myself. I love the outfit. Okay. 1 2 1 2. Are you on or do you have a monitor on?
I have my computer in front of me. Yes.
Yes. And are you going through your phone or through your computer?
Computer.
Okay. So if you turn down, you won't be able to hear yourself.
No. Well, I won't be able to hear you.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. I thought maybe I can see if my headphones will work, maybe.
Okay.
I never use them, but we're going to find out together. Let's see. It's not linking.
Is that Bluetooth?
Yeah. But like I don't use headphones often, honestly. Okay, these are not linking at all. So maybe they're not charged. Is it easier to go through my phone? I have my phone here. I just always go through my laptop.
Yeah, it might be better to go through phone. I go through my phone too, and then I look at my monitor on my PC. So I had the same setup you have.
Okay. Okay, it says to open on laptop for best experience, but
yeah, you can go through your phone.
Okay.
If you have trouble opening it, open it through Chrome, but you shouldn't have any problem.
Well, it's not letting me open it in Instagram. So hold on, let me see.
Yeah. And you can
I'll
open
copy
it
and paste it, and then sorry about this.
No, it's a weekly adventure. It's not a week complete without we have some sort of fun with tech.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I was gonna say turn this. And she's back.
Hi, is that better?
100% better.
Okay, cool. So turns out phone is better than laptop.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
It is weird.
Yeah, because every time I come up, what I do is I have the sound up on my phone. I use my phone for my microphone. I use the monitor so I can see the chat, and then I turn down the sound on my computer. And it's I feel like I should be playing MacGruber every time I set up for this, but it does work.
Well, there you go. My apologies.
No, not at all, not at all. Love the outfit.
Thank you. I was feeling leopardy.
And that's not bad considering you're on a show featuring a cheetah. So
Right?
that's right. So wow, where to even begin? Glad you're here. And can you see the chat? Okay.
I don't think I see the chat. Let me see about touching it.
It might say comments. If you hit comments, you should be able to see the whole chat.
Okay, there we go. Hi, guys. Hi,
All right.
Ryan. Hi, Horror Freak. How are you, sweetheart? Hi, Stephen Chang.
So how goes your week?
I mean, my week was going really, really, really good. Just really, I mean, like as good as it can be. Obviously, if you guys are not aware, the strike is happening. I think everybody is kind of aware of that. So it doesn't directly affect independent productions, but indirectly it certainly does. And as somebody who tries to get a couple, studio jobs per year, well, it's going to have impact. It's going to have a bigger impact on my 2024 than it does on my 2023.
We had actor Daniel Hill on yesterday, and he was breaking down issues. I was under the impression, I think most folks were, that the leading issue was the residues, the royalties from past episodes being, that are airing on stream. I thought that was one of the biggest sticking point. But he said that the biggest threat seems to be the AI. The studios want to use you once, scan your body, and then own you basically for the rest of your career.
Yeah, and I think while I don't know if it's the biggest threat, I think that's a threat. I do argue that the residuals is a crucial threat. Something I've been telling people for years now, and we talked a bit offline about this, is just the importance of having residual income, because the film, any job in film, honestly, talent wise, it's a creative job in film. Even the ones that are not creative, but lesser so, I find, the not creative meaning the grips and stuff, the creative jobs, you spend so much time trying. The pursuit of the job is such a full-time job, and then the job itself is so much more than a full-time job. The reality of the matter is, if you don't have residuals, you're not going to survive. Right. So I agree that AI is super important, but also the reality of the matter is, what's going to happen when all the actors you love from TV shows and movies are in their 50s and 60s and want to retire, want to take a step back? None of them are going to be able to afford to. Nobody's made enough money. Without residuals, we don't have enough money to purchase. We don't have enough security to purchase a home or any other major asset. So that's the problem. you know, because the reality of the matter is, because we fall into the artist career, which means some years we might have good years financially, other years we don't. Residual income is how we depend to be able to prove that we are safe for loans, to be able to get a house, to be able to buy a car, to do all these like normal life moments. So I think that the AI is absolutely a threat, but I also think there's very real threat of just not being able to sustain a functional lifestyle, you know?
I agree with that. I know, Daniel mentioned that they might have to compromise on the residual oh, residual checks. Um, I don't know why they should. I know the last contract it was not addressed. Even though it was a major talking point for the last contract, but nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened, and it was like shockingly bad. And then he brought up the fact that there's only really like 80 it was 87% of the people of the SAG could not afford health insurance. Now they're asking the top 1% of the actors to donate money to the fund to help support actors while they're on strike.
Mm-hmm.
Um, people have that misconception that as they see people on TV, they're wealthy. I see that all the time. I hear people talk about it all the time. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they're rich. They're in the movie. They're rich, and it's not really it's not the case. It's very it's feast or famine. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. And you even hit the nail on the head. Like, so the residuals ties to healthcare, because you have to make a minimum $26,000 per year to be able to qualify for bare minimum coverage. So it's not even good coverage. So the reality of the matter is, and I thought the numbers were higher than 87%, but even 87%, that's very low. But then you get people like Shannon Doherty, who has spoken out, you know, very vocally, because the residuals don't exist. So you've got Shannon Doherty. So if you don't know her, she's done a bunch of independent genre films, for the record. She has worked up until she's been not able to. She's fighting cancer. She's been fighting cancer for years. And the sad reality is, this beautiful soul who has worked with many people that I know and trust, who rave about her, by the way. She has spent the last 25 years on shows like 90210 as a lead character, Charmed, lead character, guest appearing on a myriad of other TV shows, is a name and face. And because there's no residuals anymore, because streaming doesn't allow for that, her shows are viewed millions of times per month. She doesn't qualify for health coverage because there's no residuals. So this woman who has worked like every day for 20 some years of her life is not able to qualify for insurance because she's too sick to physically work, and there's no residuals now, for even though every month she's starring on shows and programs that are getting millions of views, making so many other people a large amount of money. Like, and that the reality of the matter is, that's just a broken system, you
it's
know.
shattered. The system is shattered. It definitely needs to. I mean, the thing about it is that we have to. This is what kills me too. When we talk like this, when we have discussions like this, I see a lot of people out there that they love talking movies. They like talking plots and stuff like that. What's going to happen in this movie, or what's going to happen next in that movie, and it's like you got to step aside and realize there's actually people involved in this. And you like the movies, but you got to understand how it works for those people who are trying to create this storytelling for you. And it's important to understand where they're coming from, because again, you hear people saying, well, they're all rich, they're all on strike, they're all Hollywood's woke and all that other bullshit. It's like they're just trying to work, they're trying to get paid fairly, just like any one of us do when we do a job. We
Right.
do
And like
it.
too often though, like people think that when they hear the term actor, that they're talking about like that top 0.00001%, like that Tom Cruise or Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt level of success. And the reality of the matter is, in every single industry, you have that top tier. So it's no different than if you work in construction, me being like, well, clearly you made $25 billion in profit because the top person in your industry ever made this amount of money. Meanwhile, there's actually millions of people below that who don't do that well. You know what I mean? It's just, there's so many layers to it. And the entertainment industry also is one that I feel like up until this strike has been one where you perpetuate a false image online of how blessed you are and how happy you are, and you don't share your struggles, and as a result it kind of skews the narrative a little bit. Like what I
Yeah.
love about this is we're seeing more and more actors talk about, you know, like I've seen actors that are on hit shows that I like, who quite frankly even I, knowing the numbers, thought, oh wow, that person is financially set. Meanwhile, they're showing behind the scenes how they have to work at Dunkin' Donuts when they're not on a film set, because the reality
Yeah.
of the matter is, even earning $12,000 a week, which is really good money as a main character on a show, they were only in 6 episodes this year. They weren't able to work others because they were on hold. And then they had to do like all the promotion and billboard, which means they can barely pay for their 2-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles, let alone can't get a new car, can't get their cars barely functioning, and they have to work at Dunkin' Donuts. And I think that that's just a reality that up until this strike, we haven't really seen shared. And I think that it's very eye-opening. And I hope I find it eye-opening as somebody who understood the numbers, but really didn't quite sit down and do the math fully. And now I'm like, oh, wait a second, I can see, because you figure $12,000 a week times 6 weeks. Yeah, that's really good money. That's $72,000 a year. But now you have to pay your agent 10%. You've got to pay your manager 10%. Your lawyer is 5%. A publicist is typically a flat fee, or we can approximate it at 5%. Right. So immediately there, you've lost 30 to 35%, not including taxes. Take off another 25%. So now you're getting less than half of that. So, of course, could a person live in Los Angeles, California on $36,000 a year? And the answer is not very well. Not with
No.
a 2-bedroom apartment, you're not. Like
No.
your 2-bedroom apartment
You,
is going to be
you better get
$2 grand a month, if not more.
you better get a roommate.
Right. So, well,
Right.
and the actor I'm talking about, whose name I do forget, my sincerest apologies, he was talking how he has a wife and 2 children and they share a 2-bedroom apartment. You know, so like that's just the reality. And even like him, I was like, oh yeah, I just never thought to do the math. I always like, he's an actor that I've seen in tons of shows, and I never did the math to be like, wait a second, but how is that breaking down? So I'm glad that these discussions are happening. I think that they're necessary.
I do
And I think
too.
that I also think, because like the reality is, I don't know about you, but I feel like I don't want to, I'd rather not contribute to the problem. And the reality of the matter is, we need to figure out like, hey, how are we going to fix this? Or is it just a matter of like, again, like more people, by the way, also something I like to do, just so you know, something if you want to do, and nobody's talking about this, and I think they should, you want to support someone, the best thing to do is support them as direct as possible. What does that mean? So if they're an actor and they do conventions, go to the convention, buy a signed copy of that movie. That way, you know that you're not waiting for that actor to get streaming residuals that they may or may not get. You're actually handing them cash money. You know, if they have an online store, order a signed copy from their online store, because you're going through them. You know, that's ways that we can help out the actual artist directly. And that goes the same for filmmakers too. Like, order, you know, your favorite filmmaker. I wish every single independent filmmaker did a crowdfund, not necessarily to raise the budget for their films, but to allow fans, when the film was completed, a chance to buy a copy where the distributor wasn't taking a percentage.
Yeah.
I think that that could be a huge game changer. Pardon?
I mean, you've had movies released yourself. Um,
SF.
when you like it, one of the oh, let me read this real quick off the chat. Our friend Echo is commenting, you know, Power Rangers is a show known for having bad pay on season 1 back in 1993. The show was making billions of dollars, but the cost was $600 a week. The cast members $600 a week. Long hours of filming, doing their own stunts, and making $600 a week. And you know, sure as hell, they didn't get, you know, the residue was very,
No.
very, you know, the royalty checks were very, very small. Um, you know,
But at
even
least back in the 90s, at least in the 90s, residuals were a thing. Like they were actually a thing. And again, like you could count on them. Like when it used to be that it was playing on TV, everybody did get something. We can absolutely argue, and $600 a week, I don't know those numbers. I trust you at face value. You're right. I agree that that's not fair. But the residuals at least would have been acceptable. They were all acceptable up until like 2008. Basically, when the red camera was introduced and streaming started to become more popular, residuals just got drastically reduced. In short.
really, isn't that something too? Because the red camera is definitely one of the devices that changed filmmaking forever. instead of making film, more expensive, it made it more cheap.
But it also
Whereas,
made it easier, and it made it so that everything was easier and faster, and that's
yeah,
not always better.
I was
So
gonna say you would think that with the digital camera, the red camera, it would have been awesome. I mean, I remember Robert Rodriguez was talking about that when he was filming down in Mexico. He was talking about that, saying how that just absolutely changed the game forever. And you would think, now you can do it faster with a lot less expensive. And you would think, wow, you could turn it around faster, you can make more money, you can recoup your production costs faster. But you're probably right. It probably did not. Um,
well, all of that is still true. Everything you said is true. You have a smaller budget, right? So it used to be that like a low budget movie was 300 grand, because by the time you rented a camera, you rented the film, you had the people who knew how to use the film. Film wasn't unlimited takes, right? And you used to have to monitor the people's light on their faces because you had to light it properly, because what you shot is kind of what you had. There was some ability to manipulate, but it was a lot harder to manipulate actual film than it is pixels, right? So
right.
everything just was so much harder. It was much more expensive. Now people can shoot a movie on their iPhone. You can edit on your iPhone. So there is no, like, the art form is going, the people that are taking it, seriously, are getting fewer and farther between. So with all the positives come the negative. You hit the nail on the positives. It makes it easier. It's faster. It's opened up so many doors technologically. That's great. The downside is it's also made a lot more content. It's made content arguably get devalued. It's made arguably certain art forms, less popular. And also, like, more people complacent with like sub quality work, and like the whole fix it in post became much more
Yeah.
of a thing through the actual production of, digital cinema.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've also seen the camera. We'll fix it in post. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Um,
Mm.
Whereas before, you wouldn't hear that because you're spending most of your budget on the film because film was insanely expensive.
Well,
Um,
so once upon a time, if you were going to re-edit something in post, every frame had to be painted. The time it takes to like repaint and also like that's such a special skill set. And now, like, again, you have to have it in person, and the person has to have the film in front of them. Like, it's such a special skill set versus now it's like a computer program. So it's something that's a wider spread technology. I would like to think it's still an art form, but I do think there's people that mass produce that don't treat it like an art form.
yeah. You were commenting earlier about about how the actors, they come in front of us as everything is hunky dory, everything is peachy keen, because a lot of times their managers or the publicists, paints that picture. You go to their social media page or their YouTube channel or what have you, Twitch or whatever, and everything is absolutely 100%. Glamorous shots of faraway places and everything else. Um, but you're right. It is, because that's what they're told to do. They're told to project nothing but good times. But I do think it is telling, and I do think it is fair and correct for actors to come out there and say, like they're showing off the checks that they're getting. We're talking well-known people here. We're talking like people that we all know, and here they are. They're showing off those 4 or 5 cent checks. It costs more money to send the checks than the checks themselves. And
Well, it's an automated system, and no one's checking that.
no,
like
no,
we,
but
we
it's
all
been
get
like that
those.
for years.
Mhm.
And it's just, and sure enough, to me, it's like, man, that's the last thing I want is to see some actor has done a show for me on my network to come out there and show off a 6 cent check. That's embarrassing. When you're sitting there trying to sit there like Bob Iger sitting there going like, well, we can't afford to pay you guys, flying, and he's making $25 million a year. I mean, who's listening to you? No one's listening to you. No one,
Agreed.
because we see the proof. We see the proof of these actors what they're getting. They're not lying. This is what Disney cut. This is what they sent them. This is what they got. And you're sitting there going like, well, that's all overblown. That's taken out of perspective. That's a no, it's not. Um, yeah, it's a really I hope it gets settled soon, Jessica, because we definitely want everybody to go back to work. Um, and
You and
bring
me
it.
both. And let's be clear, I'm not pro strike. I think in this case there was no other option.
No, I don't think anybody's pro strike. Nobody,
I don't
nobody.
know. I've definitely spoke to some people who are real quick to be like, well, can't agree, let's just strike. And I'm like, no, we have to try. We have to really
No,
put effort in.
well, you try to negotiate in good faith. I mean, I worked for
Yes.
union shops before, and nobody, no, even hardcore unionists will tell you that they don't want to strike. And all they really want to do is be treated fairly and respect. Go to the bargaining table. But of course, history has dictated that doesn't always work, and now you have to strike. You have to strike because your voice wasn't being heard. This is the only way that you're going to hear us if we all say it at the same time. Um, but you said the indie films is still working. People are still making indie films.
You can still
So
make
that
indie films if they're outside of the studio system and that they don't have a distribution deal locked in place.
now the distributor. Well, I mean, how does having the same distributor? I mean, a lot of the big studios, they distribute their own films. Uh, are the small time distributors, are they affected by the strike as well? I mean, if you were going to if you're going to release a movie right now that you made on your own, would it be hard for you to distribute it?
No, because most of the distributors that I work with on the smaller scale, when it's an independent production, there's not a tiered buyout where the actors are making a percentage or anyone, right? Because the numbers just aren't there to correlate with that. A lot of independent films just don't make that kind of money. So it's not like
No.
somebody's making millions of dollars. You're lucky if you make $6,000 after like pushing your project every day for like 3 years. So there's no like tiered system where there's just not enough money to give residuals to the actors. So it's a moot point. But
Yeah,
usually also like on the independent scale, the contracts don't allow for residuals because it's just not there. It's
now
just not. There's
how
also
does that
not even
work?
like most indies don't even have a requirement to have a payroll company monitoring the distribution profits to tier out either. So
How do,
it's pretty much always just somewhere.
how does a independent actor, how do they get negotiate? How do they negotiate their pay? I
Carefully.
mean, I know some independents are filmed are financed the old-fashioned way. They get financed, through a bank or through investors, and then you have some that are financed through crowdfunding. But is there a tier for an actor? Like if an actor gets asked to come do an independent film, I mean, is their fee negotiated per movie, or is there a set line, a set rate for an actor to do a movie?
So there's
And
both. Essentially, there's no like one way. So we have kind of broad strokes set by SAG that indies typically follow off of. So SAG is tiered. I think it's like $0 to $100,000 or somewhere thereabouts, and then there's a second tier, 100,000 to 250,000, and then another tier. And at each tier they pay their actors a little bit differently. So keep in mind, for most independents, you're talking about, honestly, most of them are below 100 grand at this point. So like 125 to $150 a day if you don't have a name, if you're not bringing something to the table, right? And then if you do have a name or you are bringing something to the table, you can say, hey, look, my rates are this because of this. But if your rates are more than that, then that might cost you your role also, right? Because people could choose not to pay it. So you have to like really pick and choose. So usually when the offer comes in, it's based on all of those factors. And then you can decide if you want the offer or if you don't. I could tell you that if I, when I do a low budget movie and I'm trying to paper that or like, organize the funding, for the most part, most of the actors who do a low budget film get the whatever the industry standard is for that budget length, because most of them aren't really bringing anything to the table. So like they will show up and they know their lines and they're great on set, which is amazing. But there's not extra money unless, like, are you going to help with distribution? Great, then we can work at a deal for that. Are you going to help with marketing and promotion? Great, let's talk about what is that financially worth. But like if you're showing up on set and you're saying the lines that were written for you and putting the wardrobe on that was purchased for you, that has this rate. And it's usually, again, at this point, it's not sustainable to survive off of that money. I think it's fun if you have another job that you like, or I think it's great for people who have, other sources of income. but like as an independent actor, it's not a lifestyle income. It's not an income that affords any kind of lifestyle.
Um, I'm glad you mentioned about some of the things, because we talked about this a lot here. Um, I really like the actors that do promote. I think actors they have to, because there's so much out there now clamoring for attention, right? There's so much content more than ever. It's not just enough just to go out there and sit there and say, I did a movie, post it on your
Agreed.
Instagram, and then walk away and get ready for the next movie. You have to really push, because you are in so much competition, with what's out there. I mean, you go on Netflix or you go on Tubi, even Tubi, and there's hundreds and hundreds of movies to choose from. How do you get these people to choose what you're showing? I mean, that's the
Agreed.
whole thing. And it
Well,
works.
and the reality of the matter is that's kind of where, in my humble opinion, a lot of independent people slack off, and where the indies need to step up, and the people who do indies need to step up. And I say this both from a filmmaker standpoint as well as the actor standpoint. And I know myself, I specifically try to hire the people who are on the better end of that when I am hiring, because I think it is a crucial component. The reality of the matter is everybody in the studio system promotes all of their stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily Brad Pitt on his Instagram promoting the movie, but somebody that Brad Pitt is paying is promoting the movie pretending to be Brad Pitt. The reality of the matter is, if they have to do it, I don't know why people think that we shouldn't have to. Other than, I get it, it's not fun. You're sitting alone typically, promoting and talking about a project. You're on podcasts. You're doing every interview you can. You're walking the red carpet. You're trying to promote. You're doing your best. I know that it's not fun. It's very lonely, but I do think it's a crucial component to get the indies and get the films out there, especially when most independents don't have a multi-million-dollar advertising budget. I think it's really, really, really crucial.
Our friend Night Owl just brought up another component we can talk about. Thank you for. I know a lot of times you get asked to talk on these things, and we end up talking about all the different movies. So I'm really glad that we're talking about the nuts and bolts of it,
My pleasure.
because the nuts and bolts are what fascinates me. He says, Knight says, a huge tool of talented people who dream of being famous are used as leverage against skilled actors wanting a living wage. The glamour of the job ends up being used to underpay hardworking folks. And we know what he's talking about. That is pay to play. And that seems to be a really bad trend in indie filmmaking.
So I don't support movies that do that shit.
No,
I think
I
that's bullshit. I
don't
think
either.
that's, no, don't get me wrong. I think there's very different. Okay. I did do a crowdfund mania, which that's a whole mess that we could talk about. Like, the distribution for that has been a shit show, but I digress. I did do that where I was like, hey, look, there was a tier where you could donate X amount, and if you wanted to have a speaking line, I would figure out a speaking line. It was by no means like, you're now an actor here, you're
Yeah.
paying to act in the movie, you get a lead role. It was just like, hey, if you want a line, I have these 3 roles that I can put a line in, that if not, I'm grabbing a local. So let's be very clear. There's a very big difference between that, in my humble opinion. It's like a courtesy. Keep in mind also, I do that for my friends to be like, hey, I know you're not, I don't know if you know Dark Dell, but he runs Dark Dell's, by the way. If you don't know Dark Dell's, it's a horror bookstore and movie signing place in Burbank. It's
Very.
amazing. I want to put that man in everything. He's just a sweetheart of a human being. But that being said, I think there's a very big difference between that and then like the pay to play, which I think that you're talking about, is where people are saying, hey, look, if you want to roll in our movie, you have to pay us this amount of money.
Yeah.
And if you pay $500, you have 2 days on set. If you pay us $2,000, you're now on set for 5 days. If you want to be in a lead film with insert, I don't want to say a name, so I'm intentionally omitting the names, although I think we all know the names.
Yeah.
Somebody who you probably saw 15 years ago on a mainstream movie, who is now doing low budget movies. If you want scenes with that person, give us $10,000. It's yours. I think that that's bullshit. I don't take that. First of all, you're not making a good movie. I know that because you don't care enough to cast your movie. If the
Right.
definitive factor can be that you pay X amount of money and you get a role, then you don't care about the movie. You just don't. You don't. That's not how casting works. For the record, I think it's bullshit. I personally don't support that. I don't want to act in those movies. I don't want to produce those movies. I don't want to be involved. I don't consider them real movies. I
No.
think they feel very scammy. And also, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I don't think
I
you can
would think it
pay
would
to
be.
work.
I would think so. And to me, it's like, I think the first time a working actor lost a role because someone walks up, some producer who probably most likely bought that title, walks up to you and says, yeah, because so and so paid us $10,000, so they're going to be taking over your part that you auditioned for and won, but now we're going to bump you down to, you're going to be a cocktail server.
See,
That's
and that's also bullshit. No offense, and I support if you're an actor, walk. That's when
yeah,
you say thank you very much. You changed my role. I'm no longer interested. But again,
right.
also somebody said this in the chat, like you're fucking with people's hopes and dreams. And the other thing that's already screwed up, and this does sometimes happen, and we need to be better about just well, it's tricky. I say actors need to be better about standing up for ourselves. However, I've also been in that same position where you have rent to pay, you're working $200 a day or some low budget rate, and the reality is if you don't make that pay, you're not paying your rent. And I understand. It's real when you keep people below poverty, it's really easy to manipulate them,
Yeah.
right? And that's really what's going on is they're manipulating them. When you show up to set, like that's when nothing should be changed. And also, for the record, same thing holds true, which I also get a lot as a woman. You show up on set and then you get cornered like, oh, we added in a nudity scene or a sex scene. No, no, no. Great. You want to do that? Then it needs to be discussed prior. This is not a show up to set and add in kind of thing. No. No. Same with like a ridiculous stunt. No. No, like there's a process and a protocol to ensure that everyone is safe and comfortable. And that also goes for like not giving away your line to somebody who donated money. Also, like if you're somebody who has that money, I don't know why you're donating to a shitty movie that would cast somebody who can't necessarily act in a lead role because you gave money. Just take the money that you would give and make your own project.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna
You're
be
right.
happy
I mean,
with the
if you're
outcome.
gonna do, if you're gonna go ahead and donate $10,000, to
Make your own
share
project.
a scene,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, go ahead and put that to a side, get another 10,000, make your own film.
Right?
I
Or go
agree.
take an acting class. Like put that like I think there's better ways to utilize that money.
Yeah, I just can't stand the pay to play. I just think it's we've heard stories from actors who've had to go through that. It's very, very difficult, very, very hard. It's not fun. It's not fun. You're right. The movies that come out, a lot of them are just chopped to shit. They're so bad. There's nothing, they're all over Tubi. There's some movies that are on Tubi or that you can look at and you can see that they're not actors at all. It's just terrible representation. Um, but you have made your own films. That's when I first met you, and I mentioned this before. You were the first live stream I ever saw on YouTube, and the
Oh,
first actor I ever talked to on YouTube. Because I was a fan of the stream, and I would sit there and comment, and that was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed that show. You guys had such a fun time doing it. You and Heather, and then our favorite Ginger, Danny. Yeah. Is there and then you segged away from that to start your own beauty guru, almost what was it? Almost beauty guru.
wannabe beauty guru.
Wannabe. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was something weird, slightly weird. But then you
No, don't
started
worry
doing the
about
beauty channel, and that beauty channel just took off.
it. Yes, I'm
What
really
what
glad.
made you? Yeah, what made you do the beauty channel? What was your motive behind that?
You know what? So interestingly enough, and Scream Queen Stream is a show that was originally mentioned. I still have a passion for it. I still want to go back to it. We stopped during COVID because Scream Queen Stream is like hanging out in a hot tub talking about movies. It's covering events. So during COVID, there was like a good 2.5 years where you couldn't do any of that stuff. Like at least not technically. LA was under for over a year technically where you weren't allowed to be around other people and all that stuff. So my hope is to might bring it back. So I originally started, it actually wannabe beauty guru morphed out of inside my indie life. So I wanted to do, I always felt, so like this goes way, and it's so funny how everything is circular. So for many, many years, and everybody who knows me in my real life, they will tell you that Jessica has been harping on the importance of residuals and how the reality of the matter is there is unfortunately like literally no residuals in our income in our world right now. Like there hasn't been for a very long time. So Scream Queen Stream started out from my love of horror and my need to do something that I owned, right? So something that I could control. So although I do love making movies, movies are a much larger scale. They take a team of people, they take a budget, they take a lot more to go into it. So what can I own? Well, I can own YouTube shows. I can own YouTube content. I can own the content that I can write, edit, direct, star in, cut. I own that stuff. So how do I use that? So we started doing Scream Queen Stream in like 2013, I believe, 2014, maybe 2000, I don't know, somewhere around there. And pretty quickly, I knew that I loved it, and I felt that there was an advantage to figuring out how to get residuals out of that and make some kind of consistent income, not necessarily today, but I was always looking like 10, 15 years down the road. Be like, hey, what about like 20 years? What am I doing? Like, can I amass amount of content that I can market and make money off of that is also something I love, right? So it's never fully been money focused, but it's always been, let me try and do something I love that I was able to also make enough money to like help out with rent or do something. So from that, I realized that I didn't have enough content to play with in order to be able to see how the algorithm works. So I started just doing get ready with me's and live streaming content on another YouTube channel that was originally Inside My Indie Life. And I just found the most wonderful, kind community. And I found like that love of playing with makeup and beauty products that you might not know this, but like myself and so many other young women that I know, when we were younger, we used to get ready with our friends before we'd go out for a night when we were like 13 and 14 and 15 and 16. And it was just the most fun ever. And I got that feeling from doing it live with my friends on the internet. So I just started doing more of that. And it was just super, super fun for me. And I really loved it. And it seemed to do well. So for a couple of years, that's just what I did. And the benefit is I was able to do more on my own because, as you mentioned, Scream Queen Stream was never originally just Jessica. It was always more of a group endeavor. So I couldn't always get other people to give up their schedule. So with Wannabe Beauty Guru, I could just have me doing my thing, and that was fine. So I was able to play with like the numbers to see, hey, what works? Like, are there better days? Are there better times? What's trending? And just get better about it. And then through COVID, unfortunately, two things happened for me. Was like the world shut down, and that meant Scream Queen Stream had to pause. And then also I had a lot more time to sit in front of my computer and hang out with my friends playing with makeup, not going anywhere.
I mentioned this before. I thought, because I sat there and I watched I watched a lot of them actually, because I was more fascinated because you would be trying all these different treatments on yourself. And
Yeah.
good Lord, I was sitting there going like, she's crazy. I mean, because it was like, yeah, I'm gonna poke myself like 20 times, and then you would just jab yourself. I'm like, that's crazy. Like
So
Botox.
through COVID, it got like really intense. I still like live in an intense world where I still do my own DIY beauty treatment. So for those of you who don't know, on Wannabe Beauty Guru, we talk about like mesotherapy and other treatments that are invasive. So I'm using a needle. It's all legal, but it does involve needles,
Yeah.
not just like
I was
makeup.
scared.
Like
I
it
was
progressed.
scared for you. I was
Pardon?
scared. I
Oh,
was scared for you. I was sitting there going like, I don't want her because you're a beautiful girl.
thank you.
And then I saw you do all this weird stuff and injecting yourself and going like, please don't hurt those looks.
Don't
Because
worry.
I didn't want you, because I know for some people that becomes an addiction. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know
Everything
that.
becomes an addiction, but yeah.
I mean, people they get hooked in doing that sort of thing, and and you see their stuff. Okay, I'm going to do this again, and I'm like, but you just did that a couple of weeks ago. Oh my god! And then I thought, well, maybe you were getting compensated for it, and so that's part of what you had to do. I was thinking, well, don't they have mannequins for that? Like, this is what it will look like, and then shoot the mannequin. But I guess there really isn't, is there?
They do, but they're not the same. But also, a lot of these are like rejuvenation treatments and like things like adding vitamins to your skin. So I wouldn't want to waste that on a mannequin. as much as I think, like, I'm a big fan of research. So as much as I think that it's good that you should take your vitamins every day, you should eat healthy and eat some green stuff, eat some vegetables, you should work out every day, you should do all these things. I'm also very much a believer that we should all be doing mesotherapy every 7 to 14 days, which is injecting vitamins and peptides. Why? Because our skin doesn't hold them, it doesn't retain them as much as we get older. So preserving that, I think that we should add like PDRN, which is salmon polynucleotides, which is a wonderful thing for helping to rejuvenate sun damage. So all of these things that I try to do that I absolutely love. But again, if you understand how to do them, it's not dangerous at all. You can see my skin looks great. I'm really happy with it. It's all about understanding the research behind it. But the fact that I'm compensated is irrelevant. I would do it even if it was just me sitting behind in a closed room. It just so happens that I usually hang out with my friends and I do it. Is it addicting? Sure. We all love the benefits. It's also really nice because like we don't have to pay $300, $600 to do it in office.
Right.
We can order the items and it's like $6, like I pay like not a lot of money for Botox. A lot of people in California pay $15 a unit. I pay 50 cents a unit. And it's just a matter of doing it yourself. So I'm very frugal, but also but keep in mind, I honestly don't know how, I know how independent actors can't afford these majorly expensive in-office treatments. We just can't,
No,
so you have two options.
you see a lot of actresses, they're coming out from those places, and they're talking about how fabulous they are. And the thing is, though, they got that treatment for free for them to put that on social media, and that's all right with me. I'm totally fine with that. That's how the game, that's how the game is played. So I'm down with that. It's like, if you like what they do, you just call up the, I wonder what that would cost. We'll call up the office. Say, I just saw so and so walk out of here looking all glam. What are they, and they have this treatment. How much does that run? They're going to tell you. They're going to say, well, that will probably run about $2,000-$3,000 or $1,500 or whatever. And then you can say, well, maybe one day. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your start in film, though, because you're originally born in Canada, right? You're a Canadian.
I am. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, and our friend Rick just commented too. He says, "Song of Solomon." I'm not sure if he's talking about a film or is he talking about your dog.
Well, he's talking about a film, which my dog was named after. The dog's actually right beneath me. He's sleeping. Yeah. But Solomon was found on the film set, Song of Solomon, and that's why his name is Solomon.
Yeah, he's famous. He's probably the most famous dog I know.
He's pretty special to me. I really like him.
Yes, he is. Yes. It's one of the other things too about watching your videos. He always knew you're going to get a cameo appearance by Solomon. And on all your fans, is that the number one question people ask you once they meet you? Hi Jessica, I'm so and so. It's nice meeting you. I enjoyed your work, and you sit there and say, nice meeting you. Then do fans ask about your dog first before they ask about your movies?
Not usually before they ask about the movies, but inevitably it almost always comes up when Song of Solomon comes up, which obviously is great. Like we talked earlier about promotion, and I will say obviously Byro's a dear friend of mine. He's the director of Song of Solomon. And
no, I'm talking about your dog. Do fans talk to you about your dog? Huh?
Pardon? No, I was saying that. I was branching off, but yes. People don't usually ask about it before the movies. They usually ask about him after. But then I was saying how I just wanted to give props to the director of that movie because I thought that he does such a great job of promoting that movie. So there's I will see posts about Song of Solomon, the movie, every week in horror group, Instagram, even though we shot that in 2016, I want to say it came out in 2017. It's still very active on social media thanks to that filmmaker and his team, which is really fantastic. So I think that that's mostly why people ask about it so much.
Is that considered your best known film that you've done?
I don't know if it's the best known. It's so interesting. Everybody kind of picks a movie that is from where they're based out of. So if you're into gory graphic stuff, most people know me from Solomon, or Truth or Dare. Truth or Dare, my original film that I directed, because those are the two goriest. But then The Sleeper was really popular in the Midwest. It did really well because everybody who was in the movie was based out there, and it did really well. And it has this like really weird, The Sleeper is a weird movie, but it just works, and the director is brilliant. So a lot of people know me from that. And then there's also, like, I did do some reality shows, not genre related, but where I was a wedding dress expert, true story. So I still get people who know me from that, because also, like, they don't, because reality shows can play without any residuals, they still play that. 10 years later, that show is still playing to huge reviews over internationally. It's a big show. And then The Tombs was a movie I shot in London. That did really, really good in London. So there's people who know me from that. So it really just depends on the system, essentially. And then Camel Spiders like went on forever on Sci-Fi Channel. So
Oh
I
yeah,
get that a lot as well. Like people are like, oh, you were into Camel Spiders. I remember that.
I
And
think
we're
it's
like,
on
yeah,
Tubi now. I
of
think that
course
one's
it
actually
is.
on Tubi. Yeah. Actually I ran across you as far as your films go. The first film I ever saw you in was a movie called 13 13 13.
Mm,
James Cullen Bresak. I think he did
yes,
that movie.
I do remember that one.
That movie, that cover is so creepy. It's one of the best covers ever. On the back of it with the person's mouth wide open,
Yeah.
it's freaky. I saw people at the video store, and they would look at it, and then their eyes would light up. Their eyes would get big, and they'd be showing whoever they're with, look at this. And honestly, like I saw this happen like 9 out of 10 times. They rented it because of the cover was so effective. Um,
Nice.
yeah. I saw you in reviewed Run Like Hell. That's the movie
See,
that
and that one didn't do very good. Like that one, the numbers weren't good, but was never fun. It's like a
I was
scary movie all
awesome.
shot in the daylight hours, which I think is especially scary.
Oh, man, I love a good daylight horror. I do. I can't stand the night sometimes. It's so cliched. It's like, and they have fights at night and everything else. It's like, show us during the day. Because it's a lot more frightening during the day because you see everything during the day. It's like, well, yeah, but at night, you don't know what's out there. That's scary. It's suspenseful. But during the day, when you can't see what's coming at you, that's scary. That's scary.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed.
uh, I want to ask you about this because because I do know that you've had some issues with this, and I haven't really ever really talked about this. But this is a part of acting and being a well-known actress such as yourself. Um, well, you've had a couple of encounters with crazy ass fans. How do actresses deal with that? How do
Uh,
you deal with fans that are a little bit out there?
Not well. The problem is, like, when people go crazy, it's almost always somebody who has a lot of time on their hands. So earlier we talked about a little bit how, like, being an actor, it's so hard because the job when you land it is a full-time job, but then the pursuit of the job is a full-time job. So there's a constant kind of, there's only so many hours in the day struggle. So when somebody goes crazy, or like when a parasocial relationship becomes a lot more intense than what it should be, the hardest part is dealing with it from a time perspective, in my humble opinion, because I've had people where they've made like 3 fake accounts like every day for the purpose of like trying to like literally just say a mean comment on my page before they're blocked. But like you're taking the time to make a fake profile so you can leave a mean comment that I'm just going to delete, remove, and then block the profile from. Like, it's so counterproductive. So I've learned that you kind of keep a little bit of a distance from certain people. And when certain people seem to be too attached too quickly, like you've just met someone and they're already be like, oh my God, she's my best friend. And they're
Yeah,
like over exaggerating the connection. It's like, okay, I'm going to distance myself because I don't know you. So the fact that you're lying about our friendship, is a red flag. And I'm
yeah.
going to
Like I
really try
said,
to keep
I
myself
met
safe.
you. Like I said, how I met you, but you notice I didn't say I knew you because I didn't. I got to see you during that live stream, and it was like, okay, this is fun and everything else, but I never reached out. It's like there's boundaries, and people do tend to go past the boundaries sometimes.
Well, and I wouldn't honestly, like, it doesn't bother me if you had reached out. Again, just don't be crazy.
Yes. Yeah, craziness, because you've done conventions before and what have you, and I always wonder, like, like you always hear about people having, fun encounters at conventions or whatever, but conventions can be a little sketchy too, can't they? You run across some, I mean, face to face. I mean, it's a little different from, computer to computer.
Uh,
Have you ever had like a encounter at a convention or on a movie set with a overbearing fan, or have you seen it with somebody else?
I've seen it and it's not fun. I've witnessed it. I've seen it where, and like it's happened earlier on. Like the sad reality is the newer you are in the industry, the more of a target you are. So people haven't acted inappropriately for as many years, but have also become a lot more strict about where do I go. Like I actually haven't done a convention before the pandemic. I would do 3 to 4 a year typically. And I'm still open to doing a couple a year, but it really has to be something that I'm really excited about because the reality of the matter is there's just only so many hours in the day and I really want to make sure that my safety is paramount. And there's been times where I have been at an event where people start acting inappropriate, and when you're not in your hometown, you don't have your friends around, like you're really kind of dependent upon that convention stepping up and being like, hey, let's make sure that this person is safe. And you're really hoping that do they have a team in place? Do they have what's going on? Like from that standpoint. So I've become very selective about where I go because it's just not worth the risk as a woman, in all honesty. Not that I like to like say that card per se, but just I think the reality of the matter is making sure that you're safe is paramount. So making sure that you know where you're going and that you have an exit strategy at all times so that if
Yeah.
things get ugly, you can leave. So earlier on in my career, like we're talking 2010, 2011, I was in a hotel room at a first time convention that never did again. And the guests, there's 3 men and they were all inappropriate and they got drunk and they started threatening me and banging on my door. And I was like on the phone with friends and they're like, call the police. And I'm like, what? I'm going to call the police and they're going to arrest 3 of the convention guests for being drunk and rowdy and threatening me. And then I'm the girl who destroyed this convention that was tanking anyways. Like, this is just a bad situation, but how do you get out of it? Bad
Hopefully by
reality
now.
is,
Yeah.
pardon?
Oh, you just dropped off for a second.
Oh, my apologies. The
No, it's
sad
okay.
reality is the best thing you can do is not put yourself in a position where that's going to happen, for better or worse, if that makes sense.
It does.
You know, and
I'm
it's
gonna,
not great having to think about, like, it's, and honestly, it's a pain in the butt to have to think like that, to be like, what could go wrong and is it worth it for me? But you have to think about that. So I just try my best to like not put myself in that position, even though, let's be very clear, it wasn't my fault. I didn't deserve what happened to
no,
me,
not at all.
but
Not at
I have
all.
to just be better. So, and everything was fine then. After 3 or 4 hours, they stopped banging on the door. I chose not to call the police. I don't know if I would call the police in hindsight. Again, I had friends who thought I would, but it's like, it's a lot when you're like, but I'm going to destroy a first time festival with like allegations of 3, like what? They're either going to get arrested or they're going to get a speaking to, or like what? How does this go well? You
Well,
know?
now you have the camera and you just go ahead and film that stuff and then
But
put it
either
out
way,
there.
it doesn't look good.
Doesn't
If
look good
you're
for
if
them.
you're pardon.
Wouldn't look good for them. I mean, that's inappropriate. I
You
mean,
are
it's totally
correct, but
inappropriate.
but at the end of the day, like I don't, at the time it never occurred to me that people wouldn't believe me. I was like, if the police come and arrest 3 of the guests, the convention's effectively over.
Yeah.
Even though it's
Uh,
their actions, but is it going to be blamed on the person who called?
hmm,
Very possibly, you
yeah.
know.
I mean, I could definitely see your position. It would be well now you know what you would do. I mean,
Yeah.
now protect yourself at all costs. I mean, it's just that's just I mean, the time of giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Now it's like now it's like I'm calling the convention, the owner who's running the convention. I'm saying this is what's happening now. There's 2 things you could do. One, you can move my room, you can move me right now, or 2, I go ahead and protect myself because that means because you didn't do anything wrong. You're there, you're honoring your contract, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's not your fault that some of the guests decide to have a little bit too much fun and then do that behavior. I wouldn't tolerate that. Not as an organizer, I wouldn't tolerate that. That's just really that's not a really good spot to put you, especially
No.
a young talent. Someone who's new. I would do what I would bend over backwards to make sure that person is taken care of. That
But
would
it's
not.
tricky because, right? Like, because, like, let's be very clear. I was nobody. I had done hardly any movies, and two of the three people were known entities that they were considered famous people.
Yeah. Still
So,
no excuse.
but they're like the headliners that are on your posters.
Yeah.
They're the names that you're paying to be there.
Yeah. That's
You
an
know,
organizer dropped the ball there.
Yeah,
And
no, and that kind of stuff happens all the time. Like, we're seeing a lot be better. And for the record, I actually had a different encounter where years later, a different convention that was much better organized, and it basically got out that one of the male guests was remotely he said some inappropriate things, and whenever the organizer found out, he immediately removed this person just for, like, no, you don't talk to people that way. That's inappropriate. But
yeah,
again, I can
that's
also see it going both directions,
that's so
right?
slimy. That is so slimy to think that the thing is, they think that they're underneath the cover. They're under the cover of being a guest or a quasi guest or whatever, and they think they can get away with that. And then when you have a good organizer to bounce his ass out of there, as he should have been, that makes you feel a lot more confident going forward. Because because we love conventions. Everybody in this chat is right here. They have convention stories and they love conventions. And it's like I've always wondered, like, how does that happen where you run across somebody who's a little bit too enamored of you, or some of your peers, and it's like, how do you handle that, and maintain your professionalism. And we've already seen that, how you've done that. You're so impressive. I was talking to Steven about this earlier when I saw you on his show. I was blown away with just how cool you are, and I really am, and I'm so glad you're here. But let's talk some movies. I want to talk some
Oh,
movies.
go for it.
So one of the things that people might really, I mean, you might gain a whole legion of new fans here. Jessica loves physical media. Jessica,
I
take it away. Tell us
do.
how much you love physical media.
I do. My hope is that through this whole streaming thing, I hope that we have a resurgence in love for physical media. I just think that it's so important. And again, it's like one of the number one ways that we can give back is just buying the physical copies from the people that we love. It's a really great and easy thing that we can do to support the people that we love. And I think that as a longtime collector of physical media, nothing beats having that hard copy disc in my hand,
No, it
personally.
doesn't.
It
No.
just doesn't. And as someone who also travels, guess what? When we shot Song of Solomon and we're in the middle of nowhere, we didn't have a signal. Where we were shooting Song of Solomon, they still don't have Wi-Fi signals there. Like, it was in the middle of nowhere, Florida. So it's like, whatever copies of movies you have is what you're watching for the next 3 weeks. Good luck. I
Yeah.
still love that.
Speaking of movies, so you watch a lot of recent films. You mean you do? And I was talking before you got here. I was talking about a film that I'm going to be reviewing, and it's one of those movies. Have you ever had anybody come up to you? Have you ever had your movies, like, either people love them or they didn't? There's no middle ground. Like Song of Solomon, you either loved it or you hate it. Has any of your films ever experienced that phenomenon?
Oh, so many, like, so many, but like genre, especially too, like, scary movies tend to divide people because different people like different types of scary movie, right? So, like, I love torture porn. Torture porn is its whole own subsect, and I love it. I think it's really, 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 really fun. I just absolutely love it, in all honesty. But other people don't love it as much. So, like, Truth or Dare, torture porn, totally graphic, torturing for the fun of torture. Like, let's be clear, it's not for the faint of heart, and some people really hate that. Some people think it's gratuitous and pointless. I disagree. We don't have to agree on the point, but I don't think it's pointless.
Um, it's the mighty Ice Lord. He says he loves you in Song of Solomon.
Aw,
I'm
thank
sure,
you.
I'm sure he has like probably most of your filmography. Let's see, 80s culture is here. Hello, 80s culture. Uh,
Hi.
let's see, Steven's coming out and saying, oh yeah, he made a good comment. He says he knew your work from the Black Dahlia haunting.
Yes, Black in the
Uh,
Day.
he
I
also
and
worked
Steven
with,
also asked about if I make jewelry earlier on the chat. I meant to address
yeah.
it. I haven't had a chance to. So I don't make it regularly now. Just not because I don't. I still love jewelry. I have a fashion design degree for the record. It's just there's only so many hours in the day. So eventually one day I'm sure we'll get back to it. But
Well, take us through a normal day in the life of Jessica Cameron. What time does your day start,
well,
and
it honestly
what is
it's
it?
all over the map at
Well,
this point. So like it's literally like wake up, make sure the dogs are good. I usually try to wake up between 7 and 8 a.m. I usually go to bed between 2 and 4 a.m.
yeah,
Give you some kind of mindset, and then it's all a matter of like juggling all the balls in the air. So dealing with the all of the emails that I have, all of the messages. Right now, a lot of my energy goes into my beauty YouTube channel and those pages and the website Wanna Be Beauty Guru. That's a lot of my energy. Now that we're kind of like out of COVID, but like again with the strike, everything's kind of in flux. But normally it would be checking to make sure I don't have any auditions, scheduling those auditions. If there's any promo pieces, scheduling those, making sure all of that is in line, and then just making sure that everything is in line with my channel. I make it a point to go live over on my Wanna Be Beauty Guru channels every day and to hang out with my friends on those platforms. I try to update most of my socials every day. I'm not great about it right now. I kind of fell out of the loop in COVID, but I'm trying to get better about it, and making sure that, everything gets done. So it's really
you
just, hmm?
you're definitely one of the first actors that I observed that really understood the value of social media and used it to their benefit. And hats off to you because you were doing it way before a lot of people were doing it.
Thank you. It's so important and it's so helpful. Like, as a filmmaker, the ability to market our own films without having to spend a lot of money is so important. I wish more filmmakers and independent actors would take advantage of it.
Yeah, I do too. That would make my life a lot easier. When I sit there and say, "Hey, come talk to me," it'd be like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm down with that."
Right?
Yeah, you would think. Of course, now Instagram is going to make it a lot harder for people like myself to do our jobs.
Oh, why?
Um,
What is there a new algorithm update I'm not aware of?
yeah, now you can no longer just send a blind message, saying hello or hey, would you like to do an interview? You have to send a chat request and hope that they answer it. If they don't, then you're ass out of luck.
Is that
So
if they follow you, or that's only if they don't follow you?
even if you do follow, even if you do follow them, you get one. You still have to send them a chat request.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's
So
confusing.
because it used to be for me, I sent a request. I sent a request. I'm telling my secrets here. So I sent a request. I see somebody, I'll see someone who has something interesting, something that recommended. A lot of times it's recommended, and then I'll send them a message saying, "Would you care to do an interview with me?"
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not read. I understand that it will sit there forever, but after 6 months, I come back then and refresh it because you never know, they might be busy. Then you come back and you resend it. But now it's to the point now where it's like unless they respond to you, you're not going to get a second chance to ask them for interview. And I don't like asking for that in public. I don't want to go on somebody's channel or page and sit there and say,
No, it's
no,
weird,
I don't
right?
want
Like
to
it's
do,
just
yeah, no, that's not my style. But by them turning around and taking that away from us, that's going to really cramp my style and a lot of people's. Now now we're gonna have to actually, because this is something you try never to do, because you mentioned it earlier. You don't want to try to have a relationship when there is none, or nor ask for favors. The last thing I ever do is ask for favors. I don't like it. I never done it in my career. I won't start now. Um, it's going to make us, it's going to be interesting to see how certain shows like this one continue going forward. Because if we can't contact the people we want to talk to, how are we going to get to them?
Fair. And
Uh,
that's going to make everything so hard. And I can tell you, just as my own, the thing that I've been battling is well, you probably do know this. I didn't know this for way too long, and now I'm just out of the habit. But like Instagram and Facebook both have a secondary folder and then a spam folder. And it doesn't seem to make sense. Like I have things that are clearly spam, like going to my main folder, and then I have these other two folders, and it's so inconvenient to try to find like where the messages that I need to respond to go. Like,
yeah.
and the fact that like it's already hard enough, in all honesty, to check one folder on each social platform. Now you want me to check 3 that I didn't even know existed? Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
I mean, it's sort of weird. It's like they they want you to promote themselves, use their platform to promote. You go ahead. Okay, I'm going to do that. I got a new movie out. I got Song of Solomon out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to promote it. I'm in 100 groups. I'm in 100 groups. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start promoting it. I'm going to promote it. You promote it more. If you promote it more than 50 times on one day, after they got done telling you, we want you to make groups, we want you to use groups, we want you to be part of groups, and then when you start using it, and then after the 51st one, they shut you down for like 4 days or 5 days. You spammed it. It's like, well, what the hell do you want me to do?
Aren't they?
First,
Aren't they? Oh, isn't that getting like the algorithm is not working? It's weird. I got banned off of Facebook for like 2 weeks or something like that because I made it like one of my best friends has a beautiful 12-year-old daughter, and I made some joke like she posted a picture of her 12-year-old and she looked beautiful. I was like, oh my god, your daughter looks like she's 21. Like, be careful with the boys, hide your guns or something. It was a joke. I'm not political.
yeah,
But Facebook decided I threatened. I was like, do you really think I threatened a child? Are
yeah,
you kidding me? And then
yeah.
like there was no like I appealed it didn't work, and then they're just like, nope, you can't post. And I'm like, oh my god, thank god this was during COVID. But I'm like, if it wasn't during COVID, you are now directly affecting my ability to do my job over your failed algorithm. Like, this is ridiculous, you know?
Uh, Agreed. Let me catch up with the chat real quick because they've been flying here.
Of course.
Let's see. Our friend Sharmella says you have fantastic skills in your movies. I agree with that.
Thank you.
Steven's agreeing with that too. She says you're a truly great actress, one of the best indie actresses, hands down. Let's see. We're gonna go check out your movie. Steven says, let's see. Hmm, did Oh, Human Zoo. He's recommending Human Zoo. That's a weird movie. That was a weird movie.
Isn't that a weird movie? So I love the thought process of that. Let me tell you something about Human Zoo. So here, if you love independent film, watch Human Zoo because I think it was a really innovative way to make the movie. So what John did, the director, is he basically had a bunch of actors that he had known for years submit their characters that they wanted to play. Right? So you submitted a character that you thought would compete for $1 million in a reality show. And it had to be a character that you felt would agree to be locked away into a cell for as long as it took to win this $1 million. So we all submitted our characters, and then he picked the characters that he thought was the best. And he picked so many of them, way too many in hindsight, but it was good for storytelling. That being said, then every actor got to improv different moments. So he basically just like walked through. So everybody was there for like 2 days of filming the intro. And then the other actors, he let really go through whatever arc they wanted to go through when he prompted. So like he prompts you with, I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but I think when you understand that, it becomes an interesting case study in improv when you see the different ways that different actors handle it, because we had free reign. So also as an actor, so freaking fun. So fun.
I think
It's such a blast.
isn't the director's cut like 9 hours.
Yeah, ridiculous. Well, because every actor got like 2 hours alone in the cell to improv, and we were prompted, and then we could do whatever we wanted. And so many actors brought their A game because they're like, no, I'm not letting you. You're not going to want to cut away from me. Like, it's so many actors, and even like John, who is a sweetheart, by the way, and so talented, was like, they had this like great 7 minutes. How do you cut it up? but like everybody had like 4 or 5 7-minute chunks that didn't want to be cut up that you can't take your eyes off of. So it should have probably been a mini series, but I think it's a fascinating case study in improv, in human nature, you know.
I was a little disappointed because she disappeared in the middle of it. I was like, oh, wow, where'd she go? She was here. She was first and foremost, and then you were gone, and then you came back toward the end. And it was like, well, you were like one of the best characters. I think everybody wants to see the glamour girl. Everybody wants to see that.
Right. Well, and I really thought, I was like,
You.
ooh, I just felt like it was a really interesting, because we never see that. I don't know if you watch a lot of reality show. I don't watch a lot of reality show, but ironically, I have been pitched this kind of movie, but it was scripted, and I haven't done it because every time it's scripted, they always go very, very stereotypical. So it's always the jock, it's always the geek, it's always like really stereotypical. So I was like, what about this wannabe failed actress who just wants to be famous? Right? Because if you're promoting like the idea of you can win $1 million and potentially be on this reality show, you're gonna, like, I see that on The Bachelor. I see that girl who's clearly not interested in that guy. She's just doing this to get money and fame. Like, I want her to be represented. So I thought, what would happen? And then also, interestingly, what happens when she realizes it's no longer a game, right? Because she's in it for all the wrong reasons.
Yes.
So what does that do?
Yeah, and then a lot of people who think that they're it's funny because there was a really interesting commentary about how people react to certain certain conditions. Like, a lot of people were tough, some people were cracked, some people just went crazy. It was just all it's just and how long would it take for them to crack? It was interesting. I just reviewed a film that came out before Human Zoo. It was called 400 Days, and it basically had the same premise. They put 4 astronauts in a capsule to simulate a flight to Mars.
Oh,
And
wow.
how will they react being in such an enclosed place for 400 days? And the way they did it was fascinating. It was a really interesting movie. I'm going to catch up with the chat real quick. Yeah, that's happening now, Stephen, the Instagram. So when you write that person you want to invite to on the show, make sure your pitch is a really good one because you might not get another chance at it. Okay. 80s Culture asks thoughts of working on camel spiders, which I feel is an underrated motion picture. So yeah, we had John Marie Land come onto the show not that long ago.
Okay.
And so do you like doing creature features? I mean, what type of horror do you like acting in most? Do you like creature feature horror, slasher horror, supernatural horror?
I like any in the genre. I'm very adamant about the love of genre. So it's more fun to play something that doesn't happen every day. So I'm not as excited about a family drama dealing with Christmas struggles because it's boring. Like I've lived
No
it. We've
Hallmark
all lived
movies
in
for
like that
Justice
awkward
League?
family dynamic, whatever. I don't really have a desire to like do a rom-com where I break up with my boyfriend in a coffee shop and fall madly in love with the barista. It's just not in me. Don't care. Don't
Yeah, but
care.
you have the looks for it, right? I mean, when people first see you, do they immediately think that you're like a soap opera actress or a
Yes, or
Hallmark
like
actress?
something like not. It's always very surprising that
Yeah,
I'm into genre. Like they never seem to understand. They're always like, "What now? What? What?"
like
And especially
yeah,
like directing, they don't even. It just goes completely above their heads. Like they just don't even. They don't seem to get it at all.
it's fun though, isn't it, to surprise them? Like, what
So
movies have you done?
I love it. So anything genre to me, because the fun part comes with the skill and art of making the impossible seem plausible and the impossible seem believable, right? Which is really what we're doing. So whether
Right.
it's running from a zombie or running from a giant spider, the actor has to make the audience believe that is reality. That is the reality that you're in. And that to me is the fun part.
So how did you end up running from an ice spider? I mean, did they were you in front of a green screen? Did they just sit there and say, okay, act scared, or did they,
Sorry,
or
which
they,
actor did you have on of camel spiders before? I'm trying to.
John Marie Land,
Okay, see,
Mac, John Marie Mac, John
okay,
Mac?
I did not get a chance to meet him, but that being said, so it was a very big it was a very big movie. So real talk, because you guys know I don't bullshit. This is everything I say is just the reality, and take it for better or worse. So here's the truth about camel spiders. So first and foremost, I had a lot of fun making this movie. I was on set for one day. It was one like 18 or 19-hour day. It was a fluke. So Jim Wynorski, who is a questionable human and a more questionable filmmaker, but a very talented filmmaker. Right? I say questionable because he's not very nice. He's not. He's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like he's an asshole. I worked well with him. I don't mind that he's an asshole, but objectively, you can't help but say you're an asshole. I think he would probably tell you that he also was an asshole, but I digress. Anyways, so they shot camel spiders like years before, right? And Jim Wynorski, in all of his brilliance, had managed to complete a 60-minute movie, which, in case you are following, that is not enough time to sell as a feature-length movie.
No.
So Jim was shooting in Indiana with a producer who turned out to be super shady. And the producer said, hey, look, why don't we just shoot another 30 pages, make it a 90-minute movie? And Jim was like, we have no money. We can't do that. And he was like, no, we're just going to get these 5 actors to work for $125 a day. We're not going to feed them. We're not going to pay for travel. We're not going to pay for hotel. I have a camera guy, and we're just going to fucking wing it. We'll have everybody in and out for $1,000. And that's what we did. So we got the script. I am not, this is all completely true. So we shot in Indiana, all the cast in my segment. So what they did is they added another segment and then they intercut it throughout the film. So my segment did not shoot at the time that the other 2 segments did. So the other 2 segments were shot well in advance, and that was supposed to be the complete movie. Then my segment came in after, right? Because they couldn't sell it. So our movie, all of us came in from different places in Ohio. We all had a giant drive. We were all friends because we had worked on these other movies before. So we all knew each other. This is over a decade ago, by the way, like 2010, I think. So we'd all work together. So, and I literally remember very, 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 very vividly, for the record, one of the other actors that I had worked with, Jason Greer, I think we got the script. It was like 7:30 or something at night. And we were supposed to be on set 7 a.m. the next day. Well, most of us had like a 3 or 4 hour drive, like a hard drive, right? So you have to leave with more in case something happens, right? You have to get gas, you have to go to the bathroom. So he was like, how do we memorize? And it was like, not kidding, it was like 26 or 27 pages. And he's like, how do we memorize this amount when we were on set in 12 hours? And I was like, we fucking don't. We're going to do the best that we can. We try to get a decent night's sleep, and we try to show up on time, and we hope for the best. But like, we can't, like, you don't, because like, what do you do? Like, and I was like, the reality of the matter is, just so you know, it's usually like at least an hour per page of dialogue for me to memorize and get it down. So the reality of the matter is, there's not the time to do it, period. So you can either get a good night's sleep or not. You're not really going to make any difference. And we all had the script sent out at the same time. So we showed up, and it was so funny because like Jim doesn't really care about the little things. So we all brought a lot of like wardrobe and stuff, and literally all of us were like, whatever we're wearing is what was going on. I got there early, and I was already immediately started doing my makeup. We didn't know if there was makeup. By the way, there wasn't. That's fine. It happens on independent movies. We have to do our own makeup. But I'll never forget.
Did they have a spider?
No, there was no spider. There was no budget for any of that. No.
There's no spider, no animatronic spider.
Nothing.
Wow.
Just like a hope and a prayer. A hope and a prayer. And like the opening shot was like us walking through the marsh, and it was so funny. So like literally, like Jim's like talking to the camera guy, getting set up, and like literally like the other actors, like everybody here, yep, no running over a line. They're just like, let's go. You don't know a line? Good luck. Just guess. And the other actress was like, I haven't done my makeup. I've only done the one eye. And he was like, looks like you're not looking at the camera with that one eye that's not done up. Then now are you? And action. So if you see like Kayla, the actress, she's like trying to hide the fact because like her one eye has eyeshadow and mascara and the other does not.
Oh my God.
But we weren't given any time. And Jim's like, looks like we got to go. Even at one point, like she, later on in the day, she got unfairly picked on. Jim will do that. Jim will, like, if you're really like not on top of your game, and like Jim's way of directing is either no comment, next, which means you did great. He's moving on. You did great. Or he hated it. That was the worst ever. Stop sucking. Really kind of derogatory, which is fine because you do your best, right? Like that's all you can do. But at one point, the other actress also, when we were shooting inside of one of the houses, ended up not, because like they don't tell you where your scene is, right? Like, so we don't know. Some directors tell you your framing to be like, hey, see, keep it contained. And again, there was also no rehearsal or anything. So the actress unintentionally walked out of the scene, just like in her performance. And he was like, cut, congratulations. You walked out of the scene. You're no longer in the rest of it. So-and-so, you have her lines. And we're like, wait, what now? Huh? But like he didn't want to like retake it. He just didn't care enough. He was like, you walked out of the scene, you're good, you're done for the day. But like, yeah, we were shooting, like part of it was an abandoned building, no running water, nothing. We were so hot because it was in the summer and none of us had water. We ended up doing rock, paper, scissors with the actors who were not in front of the camera to see who was going to run the 1/4 mile to the gas station to get water and hydration because there was nothing. And we all couldn't leave because we're like, they're going to call us. Somebody's going to get in trouble, but like somebody has to go. We need water. So we rock, paper, scissors it to get water.
I think if all of you would have just went together to get it, he would have just been sitting there on his thumb. I mean, he already made that commitment to it. He's not gonna stop. He's not gonna pull the plug.
It wasn't about that. It was making sure that we didn't impede the workflow. So we didn't want to do that because then if he wanted to shoot this scene and none of the actors are there, we're in trouble. The thought process being if we send one actor, more often than not, he can shoot around not having that actor or get the other people's coverage, or you know what I mean? Because we knew that we were up against a wall. Keep in mind, all of us were under the page of, hey, 26 or 27 pages of dialogue in one shoot day. That is a hard day. So
Yeah.
like studio budgets will shoot 1 to 4 pages a day for context. An independent film that is really on top of their game will shoot 8 to 10. So trying to shoot like 26, 27 is a lot.
That's
So
like
we
soap
didn't want to, right? We didn't want to burden the production by taking an unnecessary 30-minute break, even though we would have been entitled to do so. And I don't think nobody could have done anything. You know what I mean? Like we're making $100 a day or something at the time. Like, what are you going to do? But in the end, we were able to tap somebody out. He actually wasn't called, so everything was fine. And the other fun thing that we planned was like they didn't ask permission for locations. Like a lot of them, it's just like because it was in Indiana. So they were just like, hey, let's just shoot. So they had picked at one point we run up to a house and we go inside of it trying to run away from these spiders. And they picked a random house and they thought they liked it. Well, sure enough, this house was owned by a crazy, maybe he looked like a farmer. I don't know if he was a farmer, but a crazy farmer with a shotgun who unfortunately saw us going up to his house and was like, what the hell are you doing shotgun in hand? And then we're like, we were told to do this by those people. And he was like, get off my property. You're not allowed on it. And then he drove down the road and camped out. So we couldn't so originally Jim was like, we'll just wait. He'll leave and we'll go back to shooting. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like, you can't shoot somebody's house without their permission. I was like, well, you're not going into their house. You're just faking going into the house and we'll cut. No, you can't do that. It's not how it works. So the guy wouldn't leave and we were all too scared to do it after that anyways, because we're like, he had a shotgun. He had a loaded shotgun in Indiana. We do not want to go up to that house. Like, no. So then he picked a random house that, by the way, he knocked on the door. It was like a clown car. Like the family just kept coming out. They were having a big, like multi-generational family brunch. There had to have been like 30 people coming out of the house. And Jim was like, hi, I'm Jim Wynorski. You don't know me. You probably don't know my movies, but can we shoot in your house? Whatever. And it had rained the night before. So we ran through the house. We got mud everywhere. They were the nicest family. Just thought it was so cool that people were like filming a movie. And they were so nice. They turned down money. Jim was like offering, and I was like, I don't think you understand. That man does not ever offer anyone money. Like if he's offering you money, take it and give it to us. Like we haven't had water. We don't have any craft services. Please give us hydration. Can we take the money and just go buy water, please? But she was like, no, we don't need, $200 for rental. It's fine. And I was like, he doesn't ever offer anyone money. Like, take the money. So,
did you videotape that? Did you film it?
Pardon?
Did you film that? You should have filmed that.
I did. Well, keep in mind, this is 2010. So while I did have a phone, it wasn't like today. It wasn't like a film. You know what I mean? It wasn't at the
Or
time. I think I probably had a razor then, right? So it
okay,
wasn't like
okay.
capable of filming because it was 2010.
That's too bad.
And
That would have been a great home movie.
there
So
was,
you
I don't
so
know if it's Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd Kaufman was not on that set. Lloyd Kaufman will come to an independent set. By the way, if you're an independent filmmaker, do yourself a favor, write Lloyd Kaufman a role. He will pay for himself to go there. He is actually a really talented actor. He's a blessing to have on set. And he always has somebody filming behind the scenes. And he's such a character. But he was not on that movie or on that set. But he had been on another Jim Wynorski movie.
yeah, I've seen Lloyd Kaufman. I always think him sort of like the Stan Lee of indie horror.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Lee appeared in every Marvel movie. Anytime there was a Marvel movie or a TV series, Stan Lee would appear in it. And I always thought that was Lloyd Kaufman. Uncle Lloyd would pop up at any movie at any time. This real quick. I won't keep you very much longer. Stephen also mentioned that you played in a movie called Potpourri, with and then let's see, you did
Sorry, what was the
Potpourri,
movie?
Potpourri,
Oh, Potpourri, yes.
and see, and you also did the Black Dahlia Haunting with Alexis Iacano.
Yes, I
Um,
did that forever ago. Yeah.
I love it. Alexis is amazing. Um, let's see. Wow. They're asking. Okay. Wrong person here. I tell you what. We've Dell. Oh, Dell mentioned here, our friend Dell, and he says interesting but not surprising to hear Wynorski is an asshole. Yeah, not surprising at all.
No, and I say that as like, and let's be clear, I'd work with him again. I really worked with him well because I don't get emotional about that stuff, right? Like if you're like, and there was one point where I shot it, he was like, "That was horrible. Do it again and don't fucking suck." And I was like, "Okay then. Glad we had that talk. Good times."
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
At lunch,
Let me put that. Let me put that in my how to not to direct the movie
right?
notebook.
But like some actors like just start to cry and their face falls. I'm like, oh dear. Like me, I'm just like, okay, got it. Don't suck. Cool. Glad we had that talk.
Have you ever
At
made
lunch,
it? Have you ever
hmm?
made an actor cry when you directed any of your movies?
No, not that I know
Oh,
of. Hope not. Like, I don't think it shouldn't be necessary, in my humble opinion.
no,
Like, but
no.
also here's the other thing: I've never tried to shoot 27 pages of action and dialogue in one day. Like,
Yeah, that's sort of shit. That's the shit you hear of on soap operas. They'll shoot 90 pages a day. It's like
but
what?
even
What?
when they're shooting 90 pages a day, they've rehearsed for 4 days.
Hmm.
So it's not even a fair comparison because like they're still rehearsing. You know what I mean? Like this is just it was insane. It was I honestly
Yeah.
I he impressed me more than I wasn't hurt or offended at all. I didn't, but
Yeah.
objectively he's an asshole, but I wasn't
Jim
offended.
Morrissey, he's a hoot. He's a legend. Him and Fred Olin Ray,
I
those
love
two
Fred.
guys.
I think
Those
Fred
two,
is like Fred, ironically enough, is as much of a legend, but the sweetest guy in the entire world.
yeah.
The sweetest guy.
What was really shocking to me is like when I heard Fred Olin Ray was then directing Hallmark movies. I was like, I saw a Hallmark movie and it had Fred directed by Fred Olin Ray, and I was like, oh my stars and garters,
Do
you're
you want
kidding
to
me.
know one of the movies that I ever get a residual on? I did a Hallmark. Was it a Hallmark or a Lifetime? I did one of them with Fred. I have a very small role. It was literally kind of like literally just like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to play this role? I like a few lines in an office, and to this day, I get residuals for that one movie.
Isn't that something else?
Yes,
Isn't that something?
the most
Uh,
ridiculous movie of like again like of all the movies to get residuals on. Never saw one for Camel Spiders played everywhere. Get them for this little Fred Olin Ray movie I did.
and we're mentioning see, our friend Casey's mentioning about Uncle Lloyd. A night owl saying a salute to Uncle Lloyd. Our friend Casey mentions that Lloyd had a cameo in something I watched recently. I think Wheezy Shark 2. That's instant classic right there. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Our friend Reed says hello to everybody saying hello. Dell saying spicy. Yeah. This has been absolutely a joy. I want to thank you for coming and hanging out with us. I'm definitely going to invite you to come back. If you would be so if you would so bless us, I would love to have you come back and hang out again. Totally in charm, a fan forever. Thank you for sharing your stories. I want to thank the chat. I'm sorry, I was a little fixated again today. You guys gonna have to start like typing in bold caps, fixated. Because when I see that, then I know that I'm not paying enough attention to you guys. Because sometimes I get fixated on the guest. Um, but thank you so much for coming out to the chat. What movie is coming out now? What's your next project that's actually going to hit
Well,
hit
and
the
let me just
market?
also clarify to make sure that everyone knows I'm not under, because I don't know if we'll get any backlash, but just so we're clear, I have not promoted any movies that are outside of the SAG-AFTRA promotional rules during strike.
Nope.
So all the movies that we're talking about here by name are considered independent productions that can be legally promoted and discussed. So
Yep.
I want to make sure that that is known, just to make sure that we're all on that page. So I have a
Yeah.
movie that's coming out that was a passion project by a young hot director, Colton Dietz, who's really sweet, called Exposure. It's actually not a genre, it's FBI crime thriller, which I think is really exciting. And I'm really, really excited for that one. And then I just shot not too long ago a movie called Those Who Inherit the Earth, which is, I think, a really important movie about a group of detectives specializing in child abuse cases. And I have a very small role in that, but it's an important role. And it's, I think, a powerful role, or at least that's what I hope. So fingers crossed you guys will like that one too. It's not a likable character. I'm going to warn you about Those Who Shall Inherit the Earth. You're not going to like me in that one, but I think that it's important. And then I did a movie called Shelter, and Shelter is hopefully going to get released sometime this year. And stay tuned for more.
Let's see, and yes, thank you so much for guys coming out. The Ice Lord says excellent stream. Thank you, Ice Lord. I appreciate it. Always good to see you here, sir. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we will be welcoming in actress and model Kelly Poling, also a world-class fencer. She's a world-class fencer. That's what she does. She fights with swords, rapiers, sabers, anything that has an edge blade. She is a master at it, and she competes on the highest levels. And like I said, she's also a working actress as well. And she'll be with us tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And then next Tuesday, the 15th, we welcome in writer-director Dane Elcar, who has to me has made the movie of the year in Brightwood. Oh, wait till you see that, Jessica. That movie will have you talking. That's a mind blower, the absolute mind blower. Relationship horror. But we'll be talking about Brightwood next Tuesday. Can't wait for that. Thank you guys all for coming. Jessica, you stay right where you're at just for a second. I'm going to say goodbye, good night to the chat. I will see you guys all tomorrow, 8 o'clock with Kelly Poling. And thank you for coming tonight. Thanks, and be safe. Peace. Okay, there we go.